with our crackdown on county lines drug gangs resulting in over 1,000 county lines shut down.
I guess this is YouTube's suicide, to start with a little clip of a politician rabbiting on, but it's mercifully short.
But for those unwilling to address their drug misuse, there'll be the harshest possible legal sanctions and consequences.
Here we are, 2021, and this is the taste of the free world, and what the view is on what should be done with those who don't conform. And indeed, it's not conforming about drug use. So, am I partisan? Of course. But nonetheless, let's take a look at what she says. It's Priti Patel.
Millions of pounds of cash seized and over 6,000 criminals arrested. We are cutting the head off the snake and taking down those kingpins behind these deadly supply lines. Drugs are also responsible for the crimes that I am committed to cutting. Today, I am announcing the expansion of drug testing on arrest across all 43 police forces in England and Wales. Those who test positive as confirmed drug users will be supported to tackle their drug abuse and regain their independence. But for those unwilling to address their drug misuse, there'll be the harshest possible legal sanctions and consequences.
I guess this is YouTube's suicide.
But for those unwilling to address their drug misuse, there'll be the harshest possible legal sanctions and consequences.
Those who refuse to engage.
But for those unwilling to address their drug misuse.
You know, for quite a long time I've been thinking of making a bit of a speech about drug law and how it's all crazy and it should be different. But the thing is, if I kind of take a stand against the government view on that one, the accusation that I'm just trying to somehow clean up my sordid, despicable past by being a smuggler, a narcotics trafficker, by weakening the position of the state, of the authorities. So it's really hard to do. It seems self-serving, just a pitch to say, well, don't hate me so much. They were wrong. Really, the law's wrong. But there's so much that is wrong. Here's the thing. How much harm is really done that is harm that would not have occurred in a free choice world? That is, we have to deal with the temptations of life. We have to deal with drink. Now, you may say there's absolutely no possible comparison, but it's hard not to do one. Look at the worst cases of opioid deaths. It's something like, 1,500 a year? It fluctuates a fair bit. So 1,500 a year die with A-class narcotics, that is cocaine or heroin, in their system. That's actually not too many because they usually have something else going on in their system. And the friends I've known who've gone over the top have very rarely done so by just one drug at once. They've had a drink, taken a few pills, a couple of lines, a bit of a hit. Yeah, all too much. And that's a different kind of game. That's a different cause and effect going on there. But forget about that. Now, 1,500 dead? Well, it's easy to be sarcastic about it, but the thing is, I think more people die by slipping in the bathtub every year than die from that. And if we compare, I hesitate to say it, but if we compare to the damage from alcohol rather directly, and even nicotine, well, not nicotine itself, it's the tar in cigarettes, it absolutely outshadows anything that the underground drug world can produce in terms of deaths. There are consequences that other people will associate with it. That is, usually termed as wrecked lives and damage and stealing and crime. But it does occur to me that those things really follow, most of them, from the price of the drugs themselves. That is, they're supposedly expensive. Well, if you were chasing good coke, it would be. There's a few dealers around who sell for about £120 a so-called clean gram. How to find, how to get, how to prove, how to check. But it's certainly better than the pub grub, the low-grade rubbish that's full of ephedrine. And really, too annoying. I'm not sounding old-fashioned about this, anything for kicks, yeah. But to take that rubbish, which is full of ephedrine, this is really a gutter drug. And if you get any coke effect, it's gone within 15, 20 minutes and replaced by a grungy, sweaty, ugly, achy, low outsat speed ephedrine effect. I couldn't bring myself to do it, no matter how many texts flood my phone on a Friday evening about banging a shine. So, in terms of money, even heroin is relatively cheap. You could maintain, that is, when I say maintain an addiction to smack, you could do it on less than £100 a week. You could spend that much, a bag every day. I've known people to do it, even less than 100, and they don't get sick. They don't have much fun, I suppose. But driven to crime? No, I don't think so. Take a look at the records and you'll find that the people who end up caught having done some pretty awful things, having cleaned out their families, turn on anybody that might have a pound or $1 in their pocket to go out and score. By the time they're telling that story, they're in the court. To get the raging habit that they've got, they must have had at least £500 a week to get there. They didn't have that by being all nice about it. They were rotten to begin with. Their drug-full, raging addiction became part of their life somewhat after that, when this income was high enough to afford enough so they could get the addiction at that level. That was still a choice. But here's another choice. The high prices are not set by the drug dealers. It's just simply a market reaction to the illegality of it. It's against the law, it makes it underground, it's prohibited, the price goes up. The only people who control that are the lawmakers. Essentially, governments set the price of illegal drugs. The harsher the penalties, the tougher the sentences, the more ruthless the police, the price will go higher. So really it's disingenuous in them to claim that the increasing crime in search of money to pay for the drugs, whose price they have set, or at least encouraged upward at that level, is somehow the fault of the marketplace. Indeed, it is, but only at one point. The trap, with its teeth, was drawn open by law. And, by the way, none of that will ever change for a while. And I can tell you the trigger that will change it, but it won't. A legalization of everything will not happen until less. It's in fact happening in another way. And the reason that there's no political interest in making anything legal is because it won't affect the voting except against the party who says it's a good idea. So they won't touch it. Won't touch it at all. But the real point of doing something that I said I wouldn't do, make an idiot of myself by trying to defend the position by claiming that really the whole government approach is wrong and that in any event the harm from drug use is set by the trap that the government has. The real point of the story is in that clip that began. What did she say? Those who refuse to engage will be given the harshest effects of the law, the full force of it, I think she said. And that refusing to engage, that means refusing to say, "Oh, sister, I have sinned. I have gone out and tried to feel good. Yea, verily, I should be punished for that. I must correct my ways, and I will be sent to a place where correction is done." Now, what kind of state is that? Luckily, it's so, as I've said in other videos, nothing works anyway, so it'll all be bungled and it's no great threat. It's just creepy to hear it. But if you want creepy, you'll get that out of current government. You'll get that out of any government. Tony Blair was in opposition. He seemed like a good guy. He got into power, got a touch of the lash from a couple of bombs, turned into a complete concentration camp master, didn't he? "Oh, it's all changed," he said. I know, it does when you become chief. Well, I've said my bit. But it's creepy. And it was my fault. But no, it ain't. I'm trying not to make it worse. Just understand what is really being said. Enough. Good night.